Hey guys, NYC Geek Society here. This is John talking, obviously. And I'm going to be talking about the PlayStation meeting that just occurred today on, what's the day? Today is September 7th, 2016. And everybody kind of thought that they would be talking about what has been codenamed the PlayStation Neo, which is essentially an upgraded PlayStation 4. And everybody was right. They officially are calling it the PlayStation Pro. And for people that don't know, the reason why we're kind of getting this upgrade is mostly for 4K TVs, and also 4K TVs that specifically will be supporting HDR, which is called High Dynamic Range, or rather, that's what it stands for. And so essentially, it makes for crisper visual quality than your typical HDTV 1080p. And the high dynamic range is kind of what it sounds like. It's a more dynamic range of color. So the way that they even described it in the meeting, specifically Mark Cerny described it, who is the lead system architect at PlayStation, is that your eyes see a large spectrum of color, and current HCTVs give a very limited spectrum, where apparently HDR compatible TVs give more of a spectrum that uh, we are used to seeing in the real world. And so games will supposedly look more realistic that way. What was kind of interesting though is when they were showing off the 4K and HDR compatible demos, I couldn't really notice the difference, obviously, because I was watching it on a 1080p screen. Also, I was having it streamed from YouTube. Um, but they said that they were going to release these videos on I guess PlayStation Store or PlayStation On Demand, and then you wouldn't have the problem of the streaming. But obviously, if you're still watching on a 1080p TV, you're probably not going to notice much of a difference. So I kind of had to take the word from other game journalists that I saw that actually got to see it firsthand, and they said that they noticed the difference. Even though the PlayStation meeting took place in New York City at the PlayStation Theater in Manhattan. I'm not famous enough yet, unfortunately, to have gone myself. But people that are famous enough to go are going to get hands-on demos and stuff like that too. So I imagine more stuff is going to be coming out later today, more hands-on impressions. Unfortunately, I won't be able to participate in that, but I'm going to definitely look at it. Um, Now, I kind of feel still what I initially felt about this, that, um, a couple of months ago, Xbox came out revealing the Xbox Scorpio and stating that we're kind of going into a phase where there's no longer going to be console generations, that you're just going to essentially upgrade your system every 2 years or so, much like you do with the iPhone or whatever smartphone you use. But the difference here, it seems, though, is that there's no trade in offer. So, oh, that's something else I should mention as well. That they released the PlayStation Slim, or they revealed the PlayStation Slim, which is just going to be called the PlayStation 4, not the PlayStation 4 Slim. So the first generation PlayStation 4s that I own, you might own, etc., they're going to be phased out. They're not going to be sold anymore. And the new PlayStation 4 Slim will be more, slim, obviously, more lightweight, perhaps run a bit faster. That's going to be $299, and it's going to come out September 19th. So about a week or so. And that's going to just be called the PlayStation 4. And the PlayStation 4 Pro will be coming out in November. And I think it was November 16th. I guess I didn't write that down. November 10th, sorry. It'll be coming out November 10th. And that will be $399. So that'll be the price that the current PlayStation 4 is now, which is not bad price, but it's kind of bad if I already spent $400 on a PlayStation 4 2 years ago, and now I would be expected to pay another $400 on a more upgraded PlayStation 4 with no trade-in program. So I don't know. It kind of bothers me because there's a paywall. Not to mention that you're not going to notice the difference unless you have a 4K TV, which if you want a good 4K TV, it's probably going to set you back a couple of $1,000s. So I'm a little annoyed, but honestly, this meeting made me feel a little bit better, kind of making me realize that I don't really need a PlayStation 4 Pro. And I actually kind of like the naming of it too. That it's just kind of showing that it's a PlayStation 4 with just a little bit extra. Something else that's kind of interesting is they said even if you don't have a 4K TV, they said that there will be some graphical improvements on some games that developers are kind of patching to make it make their games run a little bit nicer and look a little bit better even on a regular HD TV. But again, that bothers me because I'm not going to be able to see that. I'm a hardcore gamer, and I feel like even though they keep talking about that, people that bought an Xbox One, people that bought a PlayStation 4, they're not going to be left behind with the PlayStation Pro and Xbox Scorpio. I kind of do feel a bit left behind, and I kind of feel a little bit like I'm missing out, unfortunately. Some other details that were revealed in this meeting is that if you do have an HDR compatible TV, and you don't want to get a PlayStation 4 Pro, there's going to be a firmware update sometime next week that will make all current PlayStation 4s HDR compatible. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of nice that they're doing that. But again, I'm not going to have a 4K HDR TV. And you probably aren't either. Another thing that they kind of were talking about is what they've titled forward compatibility. Basically saying that all the games that you have in your PlayStation 4 now will essentially be able to be upgraded and look better when you are able to, at some point, potentially upgrade to a Pro and get your nice 4K TV. They also said that if you're planning on getting a PlayStation VR, that PlayStation VR games will be able to look crisper and have better frame rates if it's running off of your PlayStation 4 Pro. Which again bothers me because I am going to get a PSVR, and again, just that knowledge of knowing that it's not going to look as good as if I had a Pro. Which is probably just a psychological problem, but I'm sure a lot of you feel that way as well. Some cool game stuff is that they showed off more footage of Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a game that I'm looking forward to greatly, and it's cool to watch, a robot brontosaurus be hacked, and the music was incredible, and just made me even more excited for that game. Some other games they showed off for the PlayStation 4 Pro was the new Spider-Man, Watch Dogs 2, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and Days Gone by Ben Studios. But the one that I was most excited about personally is they finally showed a gameplay demo of Mass Effect Andromeda, which is the new Mass Effect that's going to be coming out. And it just kind of made me realize how much I miss that franchise. They didn't show that much, and it was kind of like this darker area of the game. But it's nice to know that the game has gameplay because, it was revealed that this game was going to be coming out. It was revealed years ago, but this is the first time we've actually seen a real gameplay demo. So that's pretty cool. What else? Something that was a point of notice to me is that they didn't show any side-by-side comparison graphically of what a game looks like on the PS4 Pro versus what it looks like on a standard PS4. So I find that interesting, even though based on what I was watching on YouTube streaming, I probably wouldn't have been able to notice the difference anyway. But I'm wondering if they're kind of going to be staying away from that, just because they still want to sell the new PS4 Slim versions, and maybe they don't want us, original PS4 owners to feel, kind of left behind and stilted. But it was noticeable that they didn't have any side-by-side comparisons. Another thing that I find is might be a bit difficult for them to market is for the next 3 months, PlayStation is going to be releasing new hardware every month. So this month, in the next week or so, they're going to be releasing the new PS4 model, or the PS4 Slim, even though it's not called a Slim. Then next month, they're going to be releasing the PlayStation VR, and in November, they're going to be releasing the PS4 Pro. So I feel like that might be difficult for them to market, but maybe not. I mean, I guess Apple has been doing that for quite some time, but this is kind of all new for the video game console market. I guess that's all I really want to talk about with the PlayStation 4 Pro. Sum up, I feel a little bit better about it than I did, but I still feel like I'm being left behind. And as a hardcore gamer, that's kind of hard to swallow. One of the reasons why I am a console gamer is I don't want to have to upgrade my system every 2 years, and I want to know that at least with the games that I'm playing the best version of them. Obviously, I'm talking about first-party games as opposed to games that are on the PC as well. And I am wondering, are developers just going to be really developing for the better pro system, and maybe at some point we're going to get to the point where if I'm playing it on my original PlayStation 4, it's just not going to run as well. And I wonder when that point would be. Would it be another 4 or 5 years from now, which would be traditionally the end of a console generation anyway? Will it be next year? This is all kind of new territory, and I'm curious to see what happens next. But I don't feel great about it, but I feel better about it than I did. So what do you guys think? Just reply in the comments, share this video, like this video, subscribe to my channel, NYC Geek Society, and, New York City.